I can't think of the last time where there were legitimately 5 or even 6 different Eastern Conference teams that all have a real chance of actually making it to the finals. Sixers, Heat, Nets, Bulls, Bucks, and Celtics are on the come up. As much as it pains me, they're really turning it around. But with this video, I wanted to try something different. Wouldn't it be a nice way if we could just see like big sample size of all of these Eastern Conference teams going against each other, see how they stack up over the course of an entire season, how they would fare in a playoff run, because we haven't even seen the full potential of what the Brooklyn Nets can be. The Celtics just now turned it around. The Sixers just got James Harden. What are the Miami Heat gonna do when they get their full roster back? So I'm dying to see how this is all gonna play out. So what did I do? I turned to the all-knowing entity, NBA 2K22, and I'm gonna, fire up a couple simulations and see how this whole thing plays out. This should be fun. I'm gonna try this. All right, so here it is. This is my customized NBA with all the Eastern Conference contenders and a couple non-contenders in there just to make the conferences and divisions all balanced with at least 2 teams. And just to ensure there's no bias in here and no user selected bias, I'm just gonna pick a team that's not gonna contend for a championship this year, and that'll be my user selected team. So I'll be the Wizards. So I'm just gonna literally simulate until the All-Star break, and then we'll stop and take a look at some of the stats and see where each team is faring up against one another. It's funny, even in these meaningless simulations, I still want my team to win. That's just who I am. All right, so here we are at the All-Star break. Let's take a look at some of these standings. Let's see, stats and standings, NBA standings. Boom. So here's one conference. The Bucks are leading the way, just like they always do. They're a great regular season team. They're not completely dominant to the point where they're blowing everybody out and they lost all their gas for the playoffs like they've done before they won the chip. Brooklyn Nets are where we all think they would be. They're a winning team. Charlotte Hornets are hovering around 500. The Knicks are struggling a little bit, and the Bulls, surprisingly, are not doing very good. I wonder if they've had a couple key injuries or something, because this is pretty surprising. They really struggled on the road, particularly. I know the Bulls have struggled against some of the top talent. Maybe I have to look into that, see how they've done against some of the top opponents. But I don't think they've struggled too much on the road. All right, let's look at the other side. So the Heat are leading the way as the 1 seed. The Celtics have been very good so far. Hawks are slightly above 500. Sixers, disappointingly, are slightly below 500, which is concerning. This is interesting. So let's look at some of these kind of outliers here. Let's look at the Bulls. So their overall strengths and weaknesses, they're athletic. They have some good 3-point shooting. I don't think that's true. I think currently in the NBA, they are dead last in 3-pointers attempted. And the Sixers are second to last, which is all going to change with James Harden, in my opinion. But layups, that makes sense. Rebounding, yeah, that is a weakness for them. They always kind of get bodied on the boards, and they only have Vucevic as their main rim protector, which is why their strength and post defense has been not very good. So that makes sense to me. Okay, so comparing them to the other teams, it seems like they have the highest 3-point percentage almost in the whole league, only behind the Hornets. So where are they struggling? So you can look at where they're struggling, where you see a lot of green arrows here. So as you can see, rebounding, they have been a poor rebounding team. You know what they say, no rebounds, no rings. Same thing for offensive rebounds. Bench points per game. Okay, interesting. So they have a shallow bench. They have the second worst bench in the whole league in terms of points production, second only to the Sixers. Because of course, the bench is going to be the Sixers' downfall this season. I can already tell. Their weaknesses is in steals, offensive IQ. Those 2 things don't make sense to me. We have Matisse Thybulle, who's great at steals. Even Harden, he's not a very good defender, but he gets steals. And just low offensive IQ. That's concerning. And I think a lot of that comes from ball handlers outside of James Harden. I just don't think there's a lot of offensive creation outside of him. Let's look at some of the league leaders. Okay, so James Harden is leading the whole NBA in scoring with 27.8. He's dealing with some back spasms, but he's day-to-day. He'll be okay. 28 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. He's James Harden. and he's doing it on efficient scoring splits, very efficient scoring splits. Jason Tatum is second in the league, only 0.1 points per game behind him. Trae Young is doing his thing as he always does. Giannis is being an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. He's probably going to win both of these awards. In 2K, Giannis is just too good at too many different things on too successful of a team for him to not win both of those awards. KD and Kyrie are lockstep. Seems like they're leading their team in scoring at an efficient clip. So yeah, I mean, no real surprises here. This looks pretty normal. When you agree, this looks about right. Simmons is being Ben Simmons. You know, he's focusing on his strengths. He's getting 15 points a game, getting 7.5 rebounds a game, 9 assists. Okay, so that shows me that he's kind of been the point guard and let Kyrie been the shooting guard with Brooklyn Nets. I'm not sure how that will fare in the playoffs because we all know why, but I mean, he's been able to focus on his strengths and it looks like he's doing it at a very high level, so good for him. Let's push forward. I'm just going to simulate the rest of the season and we'll have a good playoff picture. All right, so here we are at the end of the season, and like I said, man, Giannis can't not win the MVP in these simulations. 27 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Evan Mobley wins Rookie of the Year. Shout out to him. 11, 9, and 1. Okay. Sixth Man of the Year. Tyler Hero. Okay. He's actually probably going to win the Sixth Man of the Year award this year. So this is extremely accurate. Defensive Player of the Year. Told you, man. He's too good. He is just too good in this game. Darius Garland, the Most Improved Player. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is awesome. Look at those shooting splits, man. My goodness. 20 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, probably leading his team. So the Cavs had the Most Improved Player and the Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, if the time is now to buy stock, it might already be too late in the Cavaliers. And Coach Bud gets, I believe, another Coach of the Year award. And I don't know who Jacob Park is, but he's mad creepy and I don't want to look at him anymore. We got all NBA first team. Got some familiar faces here. We got James Harden, Trae Young, Giannis, Jimmy, and Joel. Can't complain with that, but I can't help but notice the lack of Brooklyn Nets on this team. So let's see if they made it to the second team. Ben Simmons makes all NBA second team. No Kyrie, no KD. Interesting. If they're not on the third team, I'll be surprised. I'll be very, very surprised. LaMelo Ball, Jason Tatum was the second leading scorer in the NBA. We'll have to see if he held on to that title. Randall, shout out to Randall. You know, he was able to actually sustain his level of play from last year and carry it into the next season. That's big. Bam. Big time accomplishment getting the All-NBA second team. All-NBA third team. Here are the Brooklyn Nets that I know and love. KD and Kyrie, Garland, who was the Most Improved Player of the Year, DeRozan, glad he was able to make it, especially since I haven't seen Levine, right? No Levine. And Vucevic is, I mean, I guess the East is pretty shallow at the center position because I'm not so sure. So here's the playoff picture. This is going to be good. This is going to be really good. Okay, for one, I'm going to give my predictions for these. So I think Miami's going to win this round. I've been saying that the Sixers, I think, would have a good time relatively against pretty much any Eastern Conference team except one, the Milwaukee Bucks, because they have championship DNA and they have two guys who can match up as good as humanly possible against Harden and Embiid in Drew Holiday and Giannis respectively. So, and then the other team is the Miami Heat because in that series, I just think Doc Rivers will be severely outcoached. Eric Spoelstra is gonna throw everything at Embiid and Harden, and Doc's not gonna know how to play it. And they have a way deeper team. I already showed you how weak the Sixers bench was, and I think that's gonna ultimately be their downfall here. Celtics Hawks should be a good matchup. I just don't think the Hawks have enough on the defensive end, and they don't have enough offensive firepower to match the production of the two Jays. So I think they'll win that one. Brooklyn and Charlotte. I mentioned this in a video a while ago. This is going to be must-watch TV. If this could somehow be, if this could even be a play-in tournament game, when you think about it, this is going to be all offense, no defense, just running the floor, shooting threes, flashy plays. It's going to be great. I would love to see that matchup, but I think Brooklyn is going to win ultimately. And then Bulls and Milwaukee will also be an excellent matchup. It'll be a great test for the defending champs and a good kind of playoff introduction for the Bulls. Unfortunately, I think the Bulls' playoff road will end there. Like I said, I think the The Bucks, they just have a different mindset. You know, they already won a championship. They've already known failure when they go too hard in the regular season and they don't have enough gas when it's playoff and finals time. I think this is where they would start to really turn it up. So let's simulate the first round and see. Let's see how accurate I was. Was I not exactly spot on? Was I not exactly spot on? I'm too good at this, man. Wow. So let's see. The Sixers won in 5 games. Oh no, I got that one wrong. Okay. I just in my brain, reverse psychology. I really thought the Sixers were actually gonna win, but you know, I had to say it. Embiid and Harden and Maxey. I'm telling you, that's the big three, man. Tobias, hopefully he's able to find his groove with this team. I think he will. I think he's just, you know, trying to find his groove and where he actually fits in on this team now that he's not, you know, handling the ball and getting as many shots up. But I like that 2K has Maxey, you know, getting up 11 shots. Look, he's shooting 15 free throws. That's impressive. So, I mean, the bench, like I said, has been very disappointing. But the few times where you can get contributions from a guy like Shake Milton, I don't think Paul Reed's going to play at all in the playoffs. But, you know, anytime you can get any kind of production from the bench will be a huge, massive win for this team. Let's look at some of these other matchups. So the Boston Celtics beat the Hawks in 7 games. This was probably a great series to watch. Let's take a look at what happened. Tatum almost dropped a 50 ball in game 1. JB is doing his thing. Robert Williams is holding it down on the defensive end with 3 blocks. Not a lot of bench production at all. Al Horford's only playing 5 minutes. I mean, I agree, but I mean, I thought the Celtics liked him, so. And then Tatum comes back and drops another 40 piece, because why not? My goodness. He just unlocked a different level in these playoffs, I guess. Watch out for him, because he's totally capable. And Tatum, he has 39 in the 3rd game. Oh, he's such a stud, man. Jaylen Brown, I mean, you can't sleep on him. He's doing his thing, too. He's dropping 30, he's dropping 20 plus. I mean, if they can have a guy give 30 plus and 20 plus, you don't really need the bench to do a whole lot. But it seems like they got a little bit of everything here. Kind of struggled a little bit as a team in game 6, but, you know, I think Tatum is really, you know, he was 11 for 30. That's a lot of shots. 3 of these 4 matchups went to a game 7. And it's gonna be like that. That's the whole point of me making this video, is like, these are gonna be dog fights, man. Some team, some fan base is gonna be absolutely heartbroken in round 1. And I'm just praying that it's not me, because I've been through way too much, man. I deserve more. I just deserve more. I'm not afraid to say that. I mean, this looks like the Bucks. You know, Giannis was doing his thing. He had his supporting cast. Bench was all chipping in, giving good production. Game 2 was a bad game from the Bulls, man. You can't have DeRozan and Levine not score 20 points. That's unacceptable. But I mean, given their lack of playoff experience, I mean, DeRozan, he's always ran into an obstacle where he just faces someone who's better than him. And it's not necessarily his fault, but I mean, similar to his path when he kept running into LeBron when he was with the Toronto Raptors, this will be a problem for the Bulls, because the Bulls, their advantage is DeRozan. He's been their MVP level player. And if he runs into another MVP player who's going to outshine him and cancel out his production, I'm not sure if the rest of the Bulls roster can supplement them past the playoff series. So the Bulls will probably be best matched up against a team where DeRozan on any given night is the best player. And then the Nets and Charlotte went to game 7 as well. I'm really curious to see how LaMelo Ball and Ben Simmons did. Look at Ben Simmons, man. He's 25 points and 13 assists in a closeout game. Oh, wow, 2K. You're funny. This is all to troll me, I swear. But KD had 48 in game 1. What's up with people dropping 48 in game 1s? My goodness. Terry Rozier was doing his thing. LaMelo Ball again doing his thing. They just look at this depth of scoring is going to be huge. You know, people say playoff basketball, the rotation's shortened up a little bit. You know, you're only going to have 7, 8-man rotations. You still need other guys to show up consistently. And the more depth of scoring that you can rely on, I think the further that will carry you into the playoffs. And that's what it looks like the Hornets have here. All right, so let's get into round 2, which is our conference finals for this purpose. So we got the Celtics versus the Sixers, which will be great to watch. You know, 2 rival fan bases going at it. And then the Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets match up. That's a rematch. You know, that was when KD had his toe on the line that could have sent them to the finals. This would be a historic matchup on both ends here. This would be awesome. Let's see how it works. So we get Nets and Celtics in the finals. The Celtics beat the Sixers 4-1. That is on brand. I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty much spot on right there. So it's disappointing that we weren't able to get it done in this 2K sim, but we'll be back next year. Says Dex every single season. And then the Nets took care of the Bucks, man. They really took care of the Bucks in 5 games. Kyrie Irving is a stud, 28 points a game. KD, we already know who KD is, 29 points a game, shooting 94% from the line. 54% from 3. Come on, KD. That's not even fair. All right, Celtics versus Nets in the finals. I tell you, man, like, the Celtics, I didn't think they would turn it around like this. I really didn't. But, I mean, I've always thought that they were built for the playoffs. I've always had faith in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I just thought they needed an actual point guard, a facilitating point guard to help them kind of get the most out of their efficiency. I thought they've always been pretty well coached. I thought Udoka was cool. And the fact that they have been able to find their identity on the defensive end, it might be all they need to make a deep playoff run. So, I mean, you cannot sleep on the Celtics because, I mean, like I said, the Sixers losing to the Celtics would be the most on-brand thing ever because we struggled with perimeter guys who can create their own shot and light you up for 30, 40 points a game. We've always struggled against guys like that. So let's see how the finals play out, and then I'm gonna wrap up this video, I think. So let's see, simulate through round, and the Brooklyn Nets have won the championship. It's crazy, man. I don't know the last time where we've had an 8 seed be the odds-on favorite to actually win the entire championship. But that's legitimately what the Nets are. So I understand why the Nets won this, especially in 2K, because conceptually it all makes sense. You got Kyrie, who's a bucket, and he can play off the ball a little bit, while Ben Simmons is kind of sharing the point guard duties. He's getting into the shooters, he's getting into the scorers. KD is floating around being KD, dropping 29 points, who's scoring on the catch, he's scoring on the isolation plays, and then you're surrounded by shooters like Steph Curry. I'm not sure if Joe Harris came back in the simulation. Shooters all around you, and then you still have an interior presence and Andre Drummond, who's gonna get some boards, he's gonna block some shots. So it all makes sense theoretically. I just don't think that this season they'll have enough time to put it all together. But the window should still be there next year, given all things remain constant. So let's see. Kyrie wins Finals MVP over KD. Okay, he dropped 35 points a game, 6.5 assists, almost 6 rebounds. He was just balling, man. 54% from 3, absolutely impressive. So let's look at some of the other stats here. Tatum is still dropping 40, just like in his sleep. I'm surprised that he's only averaging 31 points per game in the playoffs, because every time I check his stats, it looks like he's dropping 40. And why is he in 89 overall? His overall has dropped despite him absolutely balling. 89 is a drop, right? Like, I'm assuming Tatum was in the 90 overall crew, but maybe he wasn't. And where is Ben Simmons? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. He disappeared for the playoffs, literally. He's gone, bro. He must have gotten hurt. It's a shame. Oh, here he is. So he was really balling. Okay. All right, Benny boy. I can't say I'm not a little hurt right now, but it's just a simulation. I'm probably gonna run the simulation over and over again until the Sixers win. But that's really all I have for this video, man. I just wanted to try something fun. I play 2K all the time. This is what excites me about the NBA, because the East is going to be a dogfight, and I cannot wait to see it, especially if we get exactly these matchups. I actually want it to be exactly this. Maybe not Miami in the first round. I'd much rather not face them in the first round. But I would love the opportunity to see Bucks versus the Bulls, Nets versus the Hornets, even if that's a playoff team. Celtics versus Hawks is an underrated matchup as well. So I mean, any way you slice it, man, it's gonna be must-watch TV. So stay tuned for it, man. And if we end up getting a Nets versus Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, Celtics fans, you can thank me, because I manifested it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. I'll see you on the next one.